Our first interaction here with Andrea and I is she reached out to me at Facebook. Actually, says that she was researching, doing some reading and some following. I believe you watched a couple of videos and saw our developmental system and program, and you gave me some details. We've had this conversation, interaction. I'm trying to get into your brain and see what's making you tick here. I know that you stated that you want to get into the training of high school athletes. That's where you have a passion, and you're in it for the right reasons, from what I can see. Um, One side note is that you're currently not looking to make this a huge big business. I think you have aspirations to do that once you see where you can go. In our email, when we've talked back and forth, I mean, I've posed some very poignant, direct questions at you, and I think you've answered those very good and very detailed. And the number one thing I'll tell you, Andrew, is that your heart is coming out in this, and I think it's in the right spot. We just got to needle this down. If I can be as bold to say that you're a little bit all over the place right now, but that is 100% to be expected. Okay, if you were narrowed down to the nitty gritty right now, I think you'd probably have to step back and then open yourself up a little bit to be successful. You want to make sure that you're looking at every avenue possible, so when you do find that one niche that you want to be in, that's the one you want to be in, and then 6 months, 8 months from now, you're not trying to change over and then go into something else. So I see that you're the head trainer at Fitness Together in St. Louis. It's a high-end studio. Your average client, 45 to 50-year-old male or female, not really working in the high school setting right now or have those people, but it looks like the people and the clients that you do have probably going to be able to throw some people your way and have some kids that you can train. Now, some questions you had here are, certifications if they're needed or not, booster clubs versus going into the schools. I mean, I told you that the booster club and the travel programs, number one, are the place to go. It's a much easier in, and it's a much more successful program to be a part of that versus going into the high school for many different reasons. Um, and back to the certifications, in 10 years, I've never been asked by a potential team or client, hey, Ryan, what's your certification? It just doesn't happen. They want to know who you've trained, what you've done, where you've been, but more importantly, what can you do for me? What can you do for my team? And how in the world are you going to get that done? That's the biggest thing I see. From all this, what we want to do, we want to try to attack two things. We want to try to figure out what is your system to training. What do you know about it? Because whenever we try to needle down the actual physical training session, when we put that into a system, that's going to tell you where you're strong. That's where going to tell you where you're weak and where you need to make the most improvements and put your most time to your reading to get better at. Not here to make you a better marketer. We're here to make you a better strength, speed, and conditioning coach first for that high school athlete, and then we'll get into the other marketing type things to get you in these programs. And that leads me into where you have asked about if do you have multiple sessions, do you have one-on-one, how much do you charge per session. We'll get to all that, I promise you. We'll get to all that, but at this point right now, there's two things based on your experience and what you're currently doing that we need to do. Number one, we've got to figure out what is your training system. Whenever that client walks in and that workout starts at 7 a.m., if it's a one-on-one, small group, large group fitness training, what have you, what is it that you're going to do for that 45 minutes for that session? And then number two is we want to get you into certain situations in an environment so we can see where you enjoy yourself and where you don't. If you can find a local high school or another program where you can volunteer some time, it's not costing you anything, it's not costing them anything, go get your feet wet a little bit. So let's go back into the classroom, back to the grease board, and let's attack these two key topics we want to try to discuss. If you're checking this video out on YouTube, to get to part 2, just go underneath the information box. You'll see the link for part 2 and for part 3. Or hopefully if you're on the website, just check out the two videos below.